Doesn't know that Fiona and me do it in my van every Sunday. She tells him she's in church, but she doesn't go. Still she's on her knees, and Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know. So don't tell Scotty, Scotty doesn't know.
All right, I'm Punkin Jack, and we're back with the Ghastly Hellos, where Scotty doesn't know that his microphone was off the entire session last week. So I'm allowed to get roasted for that idiocy on my part. I'm accompanied today by...
This is Red!
And Bolt. And Aaron, everything's working this time.
Good! I wish we would have done that last week. Oh, man.
I was on a reboot / waiting for that software update and firmware update, so that was a glitch.
I'm sorry, my microphone, I was just so trusting of the fucking laptop microphone that I didn't see it behind me thrusting. That's what happened last week. Goddamn microphone.
What happened with me was I thought I was speaking into a microphone, but it turned out I was speaking into a head of cabbage the whole time.
That could have gone a lot darker. Good for you, it's just cabbage. Just cabbage.
I think we all need therapy after that.
We all need therapy, always, all the time. We are never 100% correct mentally. Just like the Evil Dead trilogy is never going to be 100% correctly portrayed on film ever, because the rights are owned by various different studios and they're never ever together in one spot, a lot like the books from the Necronomicon. There are 3 books out there a lot of people don't know about, because nobody ever saw the 3rd movie. However, today we go back to the first Naturan de Manto, or this is a movie where they actually name it the permanent name, right? They call it the Necronomicon Ex Mortis.
Necronomicon, yes. Which is lifted from Lovecraft, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But I read that the Necronomicon is an actual book out there.
Okay.
That it was an actual book, similar to the Grand Grimoire. Like it is an actual book of the dead.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was another name for the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I don't know.
Shit, I used to know the name of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Arrgh. I used to know that one because I saw that movie that ripped off of Evil Dead so many times back in the 90s. We'll get to that one on another day, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know everybody loves him, but I am going to say this. Fuck you, Brendan Fraser. You ripped off of Bruce Campbell, and you didn't have the decency to give him a reach around.
Yeah, we're just going right into it. All right.
Okay, I will not be a part of this. I will not be adding Brendan Fraser to the list of enemies of the podcast. I'm putting my foot down.
You might not have a say in that, because then you just came out the gate in only 3
I
minutes.
have a voice.
Yes, and it will go unheard, as usual.
It'll go hurt. Fine. We won't target Brendan Fraser. I'm just stating one part of displeasure with that whole film series. Is that so wrong?
Yes.
It's fine to dislike a film series, but to sully the good name of Brendan Fraser.
Fine then. What was the name of the director of those movies? Steven Sommers or something like that?
Oh, yes.
Fine then. Fuck you, Steven Sommers. You had Brendan Fraser go steal from Bruce Campbell. You didn't even give Sam Raimi or Bruce Campbell a decent reach around. I.H. Sinner, we did have a good / decent.
You don't know what happened behind closed doors.
You didn't give him a reach around?
I'm saying that we can't be sure.
All right, fine. But I can be sure of one thing.
What can you be sure of?
Scotty doesn't know. But yes.
I mean, at this point, he might.
Oh, Scotty? Well,
the song's been out for years. He probably knows by now.
Scotty definitely knows. He knew through the rest of that cinematic masterpiece that was Eurotrip. But the best thing about Scotty knowing is that Scotty also got to screw me over with the audio last week, which I apologize to anybody who listened in. And we are live on TikTok now.
Well, what do you know?
But yes. So, Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2, the second one.
The second one. We are here after the first one ended in such a sudden shock, and everyone is wondering what happened to that good Ashley J. Williams character after the camera zoomed right into his face and knocked him out. Mm-hmm. And then when you start this film up, he goes back to the cabin and we don't know anything about what happened at all.
Some sort of like, maybe the camera hit him in the head so hard that he has amnesia. Maybe he was projected into a different universe.
So, if you guys want to know what happened, I can give you a quick explanation as to why the film started out that way. There's a lot of very interesting fuckery with this movie. So, when they make Evil Dead 1, right, major box office hit. And I'm actually going to explain a few things as to why the pacing for Evil Dead 2 was very different compared to Evil Dead 1. Sam Raimi, Tappert, and Bruce Campbell, they didn't go into this venture wanting to be horror movie directors. Horror was just the cheapest type of film to make. So they went ahead and made Within the Woods, which would then go on to become Evil Dead, right? So then what happened here was they saw this as an opportunity to get into comedy, which is what they really wanted to do. So they then get into comedy and they make this weird movie. I think it was called Crime Wave.
Yep, Crime Wave.
And then Crime Wave flopped at the box office. Crime Wave was not funny. No one liked it. Gets bad reviews. But then at that point, I believe it was the studios that did, one of the studios that was a bigger player than the first publishing company comes back and says, hey, we want to do Evil Dead 2. If you can do another one. He's like, well, that story ends where it ended. That was it. We didn't know about anything else. But, you know, the most powerful tool of resurrection is the box office draw. So they pretty much said, hey, make this movie and we'll be able to get you any other film you want to do. So he goes ahead and he starts writing Evil Dead 2 and he tries to pick it up right where Evil Dead 1 left off. But there's a catch. Evil Dead 2 was being made by the De Laurentiis company or something like that, and the first movie was owned by a different company. So they didn't have the rights to use Evil Dead 2. And even on top of that, they also had a harder time getting it made the right way because there was some kind of issue with their original film company. So they made up some random film company that was a mockery to put up on the opening credits of the movie to give credits to that instead of their main studio. That's why when the movie opens up, there's this really weird, random shot of something that's called Rosebud.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, what other movies did Rosebud... Everyone's like, what other movies did Rosebud make? They didn't make any other movies. It was a mock company so they could make this movie because there was like a whole bunch of legal know-how preventing them from making this one. That they had to do everything in their ability to try to bypass it as a sequel, but not really. So if that makes any sense as to why the pacing is off, there's continuity errors, it's because it's technically not a sequel, even though it's called Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn.
I was going to say, like, it seems more like a remake than a sequel, but like an instant remake.
Yeah, because that's kind of what wound up happening. It was a remake. It was a reboot. It was a reboot sequel, right? Because they had to like retcon a lot of stuff because this one was proposed to keep going because he had Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness ready to roll, but the problem was they didn't have the rights to the first one. So initially, what he wanted to do was they do in some movies in Hollywood back in the 80s. You saw this a lot. What they would do was you would get maybe the first 20 minutes, the last 20 minutes of the last movie would be reused, and then Evil Dead 2, when he gets knocked out, you would get the rollout. So I actually cut and edited a version of this on TikTok a long time ago. I might put it up and with the link on this because it was actually I was very proud of that edit. So when he gets knocked out,
this is interesting. So they didn't have the rights to the original story, but they still had the rights to the character of Ash.
So technically, he is Ash, but if you notice, they just call him Ash. They don't refer to him as Ashley.
Ashley, okay.
And you can get away with names. He also was wasn't a very distinctive looking character in the first movie. He just had that blue shirt. That was it.
Right. Yeah.
The hair and that jawline, though.
But in the first movie, he doesn't have the hair or the jawline. He's just a regular dude.
I have to say, like, part of the reason why I enjoy these movies is just looking at Bruce Campbell.
Oh, that's like, one sexy motherfucker. And you know what's cool about Bruce Campbell? He hears things that people say about him. So if you hear this, Bruce, I'm your number one fan. I stalk you. Right.
Yeah, well,
okay.
I was explaining this to my wife this morning, that part of the reason why I'm enjoying this movies is, like, Bruce Campbell can do these amazing things with his face, his eyebrows. He can really widen his eyes in an effective way, but also it comes down to he's just very handsome. Like, he's easy on the eyes, so they're fun movies.
He is. But I'm actually gonna point this out, and this is gonna sound super duper homo, and I don't care because it's Bruce Campbell. It's like impossible not to be.
It's 2024.
When it comes to Bruce Campbell,
everyone gets a pass. All right, like it's one of those things. If it's Bruce Campbell, you get a pass. No one's gonna argue with you about your orientation towards Bruce Campbell, because we all grew up with Bruce Campbell in our movies one way or another. All right, you saw Congo, he was in that. You saw what is it? God, I can come off. I can rattle off so many random movies you could find this fucking guy in. Jack of all trades, he was on your TV. There you go. He was in Escape from L.A. Like he was the Gen Xers equivalent of Nathan Fillion back in the day. That's the best way I can describe Bruce Campbell. Like, he was everywhere. You just popped up and you're like, oh shit, it's this guy. Hey, Bruce Campbell, yay. Yes, continue. You were going to say?
Oh, I was going to mention a modern classic, Bubba Hotep.
Oh, I love that movie.
That's a great movie.
That movie is so far out that like even if you're stoned, it makes sense. The first time I saw that movie was on a day where I was like so stressed out from studying for finals. It was on my birthday, believe it or not. It was on cable. I sit down and I'm like, oh, it's Bruce Campbell. Oh, and he's dressed as Elvis. And like my ex was there. She was a huge Elvis fan. We sat down and we're like, so no shame, I said. This is my man crush, and you're just going to sit here and watch me watch my man crush on my birthday. He's dressed as Elvis. Enjoy.
Yes. He has made the list of men that I would turn for.
Yeah. Remember when he started selling Old Spice?
The list.
Yeah, I keep a list. Henry Cavill's at the top of it, but right behind it is Bruce Campbell. Yeah, like, do you remember when he was selling Old Spice? He made me buy Old Spice. Old Spice sucks, but he made me buy it.
That is a testament to his supernatural power.
Yeah, and Old Spice sucks. Like, I cannot stress how terrible Old Spice is. But,
okay, I am willing to add Old Spice to the list.
Okay, has anybody have either of you two used Old Spice before?
I've used it, but I think it's like it was like the very like bland, like the blue.
Yeah, that's the main one. It sucks.
Yeah,
but I bought it for Bruce Campbell.
Tolerate, but I never paid for it. Like, it was always given to me by my mom, and I'm just like, oh, I can't wait for me to run out of this thing, and hope for you to never buy any more of this ever again. Thanks.
It sucks. Like, I remember one time, like, I went on a date. I didn't have any deodorant. I found the Old Spice, the brand new bottle of Old Spice that had been there for like a day. So I put on the Old Spice. I walk out and I smell like salt maybe 10 minutes after I put it on. I'm like, this thing sucks. Bruce Campbell, how could you lend your name to such an inferior product?
Look, people need to pay bills. Like, it could have been worse. You know what?
You know who he is to me, Bruce Campbell. If I could give up a very, very, the most perfect analogy for who he is, this sound ought to do it.
Oh! They drove a dump truck full of money up to my house. I'm not made of stone.
For anybody who couldn't hear that, Red, that was Krusty the Clown. To me, the relationship I have with Bruce Campbell is Bart Simpson and Krusty the Clown. I am pretty sure Bruce Campbell has done some fucked up shit, but it's like Krusty. I'll let it go because it's Bruce Campbell.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to the Campbell Burger franchise.
Dude, I would so love that.
Oh,
I would go. I would go to Campbell Burger. And I know it would be somewhere in the fucking Midwest and I'd have to drive out there to get in there, but I would do it.
Flagship location, St. Louis.
Oh, you just came back from the abyss and you're going to tell him to go back there.
But for anybody else who's like curious about who this guy is and like a little bit more trivia on this franchise, 'cause I know a lot of trivia on this franchise. If things had gone a different way back in 2007 and Spider-Man 3 had been a hit, he would have been Mysterio in those films.
Oh.
He's actually, because you know, like, he's in all three of those movies, right?
In what role?
Spider-Man? He's in all three of them.
Yeah.
He's a different guy each time.
Oh, interesting. Oh, okay.
But technically, he's the same guy. It's just, it was a long-term plant that they had hidden. So, in the first one, he's the ring announcer at the wrestling match that he beats up Macho Man in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The second one, he is the pissant usher that will not allow Spider-Man into the theater to see Mary Jane's terrible performance. And in the third one, he is the maitre d' that Spider-Man goes to give the crybaby ring to. And then he's going to propose to Mary Jane and put it in the glass of champagne for her. He's the maitre d' there. So what's important to note is that he's there at essentially 3 important points in Peter Parker's life where things go to shit for the rest of the movie.
Okay.
So he's there at the wrestling match where Uncle Ben gets shot. He's there at the show that he doesn't get into, which then Mary Jane is like, why did I even bother with you? And then in the third one, he's there when Mary Jane rejects his advances. They rejects she tells him, I don't want to be with you.
Well, basically, she was strong-armed into doing that because when your friend comes back from having an amnesia...
We're not going to talk about those terrible fucking movies. Those movies are on the list. I
brought them up, though!
We're just going off 3 points that he was in, and then this is supposed to lead him into being Mysterio. And if the MCU wants me to come back, they will make him Mysterio. And give me that goddamn movie, and then I'll be quiet for the rest of all eternity. I will watch all of the movies that they come out with for the rest of the time. If they give me that movie.
Stop lying.
I'm not lying. You know what? How people think I'm loyal to freaking Henry Cavill? I would leave Henry Cavill in 5 seconds. Not even counting. If Bruce Campbell comes back and does Mysterio and Spider-Man. There, I said it. And it's on record too, recorded.
I mean, I'm the one that said that Man of Steel is the worst movie that I've ever seen. So
Wow.
you don't remember that?
I remember that. Epic Farm remembers. And I have Henry Cavill's autograph in my living room. But I would still leave Henry Cavill in a heartbeat to go get that, to go see that film.
We need to talk about loyalty and...
This is loyalty. I've been a fan of Bruce Campbell longer than I have Henry Cavill.
Don't promote how you were staying
and
loyal to Henry Cavill.
I have also watched more films with Bruce Campbell in it. You know, I'm going to rename this one. Scotty doesn't know that Pumpkin Jack will betray you.
It's too long.
It's too long. Scotty doesn't know that Pumpkin Jack loves Bruce Campbell. That's still too long. But, yes. You're leaving your Pookie.
Maybe Scotty now knows that Pumpkin Jack loves Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, sorry, 8 Center. Sorry to find out this way.
So you see, he is my Pookie, but the other guy, that's my hubby. That's what that is. That's what that is. Mm-hmm.
My goodness.
Mhm.
You just
And I
say,
wa-
"Oh, I have a side
Yeah.
piece, but I have a
Well,
main squeeze." Get
Pretty
out of
much.
here.
oh my goodness.
Get out of
The
here.
other one's daddy. So that's all I have to
Oh.
say.
Right.
Well,
Yes.
so-
See, she's considering his feelings. Something you never did.
You were saying, Red, before this conversation went completely off the rails?
Yes. Okay. Well, aside from his good looks, part of the reason why I am now a Bruce Campbell fan, I think, is because watching him in this movie, he is just a champ. And not just because of the acting, but for all the stuff that he has to go through, like on set, like literally a fire hose of blood to the face. He's thrown on the ground, screaming his head off, and like I said, contorting his face in all different ways. Like the movie looks like it was an ordeal for Bruce Campbell.
Do you want to know how they got the smoke to come out of the chainsaw?
Oh, how?
So I played the video games also for these movies.
Mhm.
In the video game for A Fistful of Boomstick, if you get far enough, there's a behind the scenes and he does a little interview when he's doing the voice recordings, and he kind of comes out and says what happened was to get that smell, to get that aura of the smoke out of the chainsaw right before he ripped Henry Cavill's heart out, is that they had to put basically a hose up his pant legs going through the shirt to the sleeve, and then they had tobacco burning, and they had to kind of blow and pump the tobacco into the hose to come out of the
Wow.
hand to
Huh.
get the smoke to come out of the chainsaw.
I guess I guess that would be safer than, like, I don't know, putting some sort of obstruction in the chain to make it smoke.
Yeah, because if you do that, then you have like what's essentially like a burning machine, a steam machine
Yes.
that can't be caught right on his hand. So the other way was to do it. So
Oh yeah.
that was how they did it to get around it. And he was like, "Yeah, you know what sucked about that? That left tobacco stains all over my legs, my arms, and my ass for like weeks. That would never come out on my skin. Whereas this ash in the video game, it's just some drawing that some guy did to put in the CGI." So that's how they did that effect, just for funsies. And this one was
Yeah.
also a lot safer than the first one was, because now they knew what they were doing. So
Yeah.
they weren't shooting real bullets on camera. They
Thank
weren't.
heavens.
They weren't. He wasn't really holding a real chainsaw right above the lady's body. Like, it was a pretty safer production than the other one was. It's just
Yeah.
that it was demanding, and he was the only one who could do it. He did have stunt doubles for certain sequences, but not that many, because you can't zoom out
I
that
was
much.
I was wondering about that because, like, it takes place. Almost the entire movie takes place inside just a couple rooms, and so a lot of the shots are very close. So I'm like, there's only a couple things in here where they could have been using a stunt double.
I think the times they used a stunt double was when you see him getting grabbed by the hands being swung around it by a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That was about it. From there, like, a lot of it, it's him. And credit to Bruce Campbell, he can still move that way today, because he was in that other MCU film, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you guys didn't see that one. Bolt, did you see that one?
No, I had a full plate today, so unfortunately,
So-
Army of Darkness was all I can muster.
Just for the purposes of losing more of our audience, I fell asleep during it.
Ooh.
It is a very trippy movie, and it can do that.
Yeah.
But I
I
went
was
to
very
see it.
tired, so that it was not normal circumstances.
Yeah, it's a very odd movie. Like, it has moments where it's really quick, and then it has moments where it's really slow.
Mhm.
But what I will say about it was, in that film, he has a cameo where he's Pizza Papa. Pizza Papa always gets paid. And they basically do the bit where he possesses the hand to start beating him up.
Yeah.
So they do the thing where the hand beats him up. And Bruce Campbell is still there. at like his old age, continuing to get beaten up by the Hand over and over again, and he manages to do it pretty well.
Okay, well, now I'm definitely gonna watch it because that's one of my favorite scenes. Like, I love it when a movie introduces a new kind of acting to me. So this was hand acting. It's so well done. Like, you really believe that his hand is possessed, and it's not quite the same thing as like Thing in the Addams Family. That's hand acting because you can see the person that's attached to the hand, and it's like the way that he's doing it. It's almost like he's a puppeteer, but there's no puppet at the end of his hand. His hand is the puppet. It was just very, very well done.
No, it's very artistic, that style of moving. Yeah. But unfortunately, right, what I always found was the biggest tragedy of all of this, is that Bruce Campbell is the only actor to have perfected that since the Three Stooges. Right? He's the only one to have been able to perfect that since the Three Stooges. Unfortunately, that type of comedy was played out by the time he was young and strong to do it.
Like the really slapsticky type stuff?
That slapsticky stuff was not... It was played out by the time he came around.
Yeah, because on the Three Stooges, they had to make it look like they were hitting each other.
Yeah.
Like, if you look closely on the Three... I watched a lot of Three Stooges as a kid, so I started to notice, like, how they were doing things. Like, Moe doesn't actually poke Curly in the eyes. It's like he hits his eyebrows.
Yep.
But it's quick enough that if you're not really paying attention, it looks like he's poking him in the eyes. So
it's like wrestling. Yeah. Like, in wrestling, the rest holds, the headlocks, they're not really choking the guy. It's more like right around the chin to make it seem like it is, and they're signaling one another. Mm-hmm. My uncles, when they were kids, they used to know how to do the Three Stooges stunts.
Yeah.
And like when we were adults, they actually used to do it in front of us all the time, like the poking the eyes, the slapping of the heads, the flipping. Like, they used to know how to do it because they grew up watching it when it was in its prime.
Yeah. So, could they do the voices?
No, but you'll meet one of my uncles someday. He does remind me a little bit of Larry. He has the same nose, similar face, similar eyes. He had the orange hair for a little while there too when we were kids.
Okay, yeah.
Like, when I look at him, I'm like, I can't watch some of those things sometimes. I'm like, man, this is annoying. But he does remind me a little bit of Larry Fine at times. It was one of those things.
Calling Dr. Howard, Dr. Fine, Dr. Howard.
This is all relevant to Evil Dead, folks. Believe it or not. I'm actually going to make a bold statement here, but it is a statement nevertheless. I feel like Evil Dead is the birthplace of horror comedies.
Yes.
Like, I feel they all kind of like go back to it. One question. Actually, you know what? I'm going to get to the bottom of this one right now. Evil Dead 2 comes out in 1987. I now need to look up when Nightmare on Elm Street 3 came out.
I mean, it doesn't feel like a bold statement unless someone can state.
Oh, would you consider Nightmare on Elm Street to be a horror comedy?
The third one started leaning into comedy a little more, and it came out in the same year. Wow.
Interesting.
Well,
the third one leans a little more, or begins to leaning into comedy. So a bit of a thing I'll say as a horror fan, right? If you're a huge comic book nerd, if you were a comic book nerd at some point in the 90s, you were a fan of horror. Because when you were a kid, just like when I was a kid, there was no MCU in sight. You either had your Saturday morning Marvel cartoons and your Batman cartoons after school, and then the closest you were going to get was horror movies, because they're the only ones that had the effects going wild, right? Aside from your like typical Jim Henson affair, horror movies were the only ones that were doing stuff like Evil Dead 2, where like essentially Evil Dead 2, if you pay close attention, you're watching a Doctor Strange movie. And I don't mean that now because it's the MCU. Like, if you pay close attention, someone casts a spell. These people are stuck in the cabin. They are screwed in the cabin. They have nowhere to go. The only way to stop it is by opening the vortex and stopping all of this again, right? Like casting another spell to counter it and make it go away as they're fighting the demons. This was as close as you were going to get as a kid to a Doctor Strange movie, watching Evil Dead, or to a John Constantine film, watching Evil Dead. This is as close as you were going to get. Nowadays, like, you can say, well, it's just a matter of time until, you know, the Dazzler gets a movie over at the MCU. But my point being, this was as close as you could get. The closest thing to an X-Men movie you will get in the 80s was Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. This is where the effects went nuts. But with the effects also comes a lot of opportunities for comedy and campiness. And I think Evil Dead 2 leaned a lot heavier into campiness and comedy than the other one did, but they were starting. Freddy Krueger, I think, once the fourth one keeps going, he starts getting to be funnier. And in this one, it just kind of like kicked it off. Like, there's just a bunch of silly jokes regarding the horror and watching people get spooked, and you laugh. It's over the top. You bastards! Give me back my hand!
Give me back my hand, yeah. Yeah, there was a sense that the movie just wasn't taking itself seriously at all. Whereas with the first one, the first Evil Dead film, it feels like a bit of half and half.
They're taking it as seriously as they can in the first one. That makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's at the end of the day, like, they weren't aiming to be horror. They were aiming to be funny. So, like, I guess they're fighting their urges to be funny.
I mean, they picked a weird way to go about it with that whole tree scene. That got edited out.
The tree scene to me, though, wasn't funny. But I know some people that found it funny. That makes any sense.
They need to get checked out then.
I don't think the scene with the tree in the first one is.
It's not funny, but I've heard people like tell me that because of how cheap the tree looks, that they found it funny. Like they were able to detach what was happening by just paying attention to the campiness of the effect.
So
but to me, I'm like,
close your eyes.
Think about it. I'm like, yeah, good for you, man. I don't find that funny at all. They're like, well, it's not funny that what's happening. It's just funny how cheap it looks. And then you fast forward to the 2013 one where the effects are now like caught up, and they're like, that one wasn't funny at all. Like that one was not hidden in shadows, nothing at all. When that girl gets attacked by the tree in the 2013 one, that shit is hard. They're like, that one wasn't funny at all. Like, you even see the demonic face staring back at her, like, as it's doing it, and she's like, and they're laughing.
That sounds like trauma.
Yeah, it's so, the 2013 one, not to go too far, we're going to come right back to Evil Dead 2, is, in my book, the hardest one of the entire library. If you're looking for a very serious, very hard in tone horror movie, the 2013 reboot, actually no, that's actually a sequel, that's not even a remake, it's actually set in the same universe where Ash is in. You see the car and everything covered in branches and vines. That one is harder in tone than the rest of the films, and I wish they would have continued with that one, but you know, the people just really, really wanted to keep Bruce Campbell's storyline going, and they didn't want to give the lady anything else anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the backstory with the Book of the Dead and the professor finding it, and just some of the questions that I have about that backstory, it would be interesting for those to get a serious treatment. So I'll have to check that one out.
Did you ever see the show?
No.
Really? Well, I'm not going to say really. Like, it's a TV show. You really need to either have Prime, Stars, or...
Sure.
I think it was on Netflix for a little while. I don't know if it's still on there.
Let me look at Ash versus Evil Dead, right?
Yeah. But they discuss it a little bit about about the professor finding the book, but they never really go all the way into it. And oddly enough, your perspective is the same one Bruce Campbell has these days, where he's like, okay, I think in Ash versus the Evil Dead, we told the story of Ash Williams already. We got to give him as decent a finale as we could. And he goes, I'm honestly too damn tired to continue this role in physical form. I can do it animated, but not physically anymore. It's too demanding.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it looks exhausting.
No, he said it himself. Like in the show, he
Yeah.
got exhausted. He goes like, there were times where like I had to stop filming because he goes like run across the room and jump. He's like, guys, I'm like 60.
Jeez, are they trying to bury this
He's like,
man?
I'm gonna
while
fucking die
filming?
here. But he was still doing a lot of the stunts in the shows. But after a while, like he says it, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. When Evil Dead Rise came out, which is funny that a lot of the Evil Dead diehards were very much anti-Rise, he said, there are still a lot more stories left to tell in this universe. You don't need to follow Ash around anymore. You can follow a few other people. In 2014, like the other reason why also, like, to my understanding, he didn't want to keep up with the show no more was because he was waiting for them to bring in the Mia character. Let me find out the actress's name because I actually like her. Jane Levy.
Yeah.
They were
I
trying
mean, poor
to...
Linda.
Huh?
Poor Linda is only in this movie for like 3 minutes.
Yeah, and then they changed the actress again in Army of Darkness. And then they didn't have the rights to use Army of Darkness for the TV show, so they kind of gloss over a lot of the Army of Darkness stuff. Which pissed off the guy who was Lord Arthur because apparently like he was supposed to have a cameo come back.
How many studios own this thing?
I think one is indie, the other one is the De Laurentiis group, and then I think the third one was Universal. And I think like they finally have the rights back to the first two, but now they don't have the rights back to the third one.
Okay.
But you know, it's only cinematic rights because they were able to kind of put it all together for the ill-fated Evil Dead video game. Great video game that came out 2 years ago, but unfortunately Saber went belly up. We tried playing it. Remember, Bolt? Some idiot was playing the banjo the whole time.
Oh man.
Hey, that
Man.
that idiot could have been me.
No,
because you were never being called an idiot. You don't meet the qualifications to be called an idiot, right?
Imagine
But I do play the banjo.
you do
Yeah,
play the
but-
banjo, sir, but if I were giving you instructions, you would not decide to play the banjo music over my instructions just to be an asshole.
Yeah.
I would not.
No,
I
you
would
would
not.
not.
I
But this
use-
asshole thought it would be funny.
I use my banjo powers only for good.
Do
Exactly.
it well.
You use
You
it
do it
for...
well.
You, sir, use it for parody and humorous sake.
I play virtuous clawhammer. That's what I
Bingo.
call it. Yes.
Is that copyrighted?
I think I was there the
Now
one...
it is.
I think I was there the one time we mentioned something very, very, very rednecky going on. And then you started playing... Din 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 din. He did the strut like right on cue.
Yeah. That's sort of a horror movie. We could talk about that one.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie.
You know what? I've always wondered if that movie was set in the Evil Dead universe. They are in the backwoods, and those people look a lot like the same people that would be keeping an eye out on the cabin and Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like Evil Dead. You know, like there's a little bit of hillbilly horror in that.
Well, in the extended stuff, there is a lot of hillbilly horror with Evil Dead, because even Ash Williams himself, he's a bit of a redneck.
I don't see it. The man works at a knockoff Walmart and knows his way around chemistry and.
You have to watch the series
Okay.
and like
All right,
follow a bit of the remainders of everything. Like he is one of those. Like, I think when the series opens up, he lives in a trailer park. He gets high and he reads the book. To impress some chick, he gets high and he pulls out the book and he reads it. He's not, he's not without charm. Like, he is scoring, but it's very interesting. Like, he's scoring, but he's scoring with like these really dingy, bar diving, like not pleasant types of people to be scoring with.
A win's a win, I guess.
Yeah, that's how he sees it. Win's a win.
This is what happens when you get like you're in a never-ending battle between an inanimate object that has the power to summon the powers of hell, to swarm you for no good reason, just because they just want someone to mess with.
I have a
After a
question.
certain point, you just take any win.
Did you guys ever watch Xena?
I have not actually.
You know
Never
who
heard of that.
Lucy Lawless is, though, right?
I don't.
Nope.
Really, you guys don't? This is what happens when I deal with a fucking robot and a fish. All right.
Wow. I would never.
None of you ever watched the TV
I'm
like I did.
insulted by a pumpkin.
Yes, because I at least
I
am
never
above
thought
ground to
that I
watch
would
TV. What do you
I never
do?
thought that I would reach such a lowly state for my honor to be scorned by a gourd.
By food.
Just a viewer. Yes, Warrior Princess Xena. These two don't know who the hell that is. Just
Oh,
a viewer.
that-
I know
Oh,
who
that
she
girl.
is. I've just never seen her.
How the hell you not see Xena? She was on TV like left and right when we were kids. Her and that other weirdo who plays Hercules.
Look,
I have an excuse.
pretty much all I did was watch the Angry Beavers when I was a kid. So
That was it.
that's pretty much all I did.
Really? That's understandable. I had a weird childhood. My parents let me watch whatever the hell I wanted.
Oh, lucky you.
I'm one of the few people that still remembers what the hell Tales from the Crypt was. It's actually kind of funny. It's really funny, Red. In our group, I went around a couple of years ago and made a mention that, hey, why is there no Tales from the Crypt on Max, HBO Max? I just asked a simple question. Everybody goes, what the hell are you talking about? I'm like, what do you mean, what am I talking about? You guys don't know what Tales from the Crypt is? When I was a kid, I watched my Disney Channel movies and my cartoons, and I have no idea what you're talking about. Says the Chaos of Evil, Agent of Chaos and Evil. I'm like, what? How do you not know what Tales from the Crypt was? Like, he had a cartoon. He had, like, all these cool things, and, like, no one's looking at me like I had two turds hanging out of my mouth. I'm like, all right, fine. Fine. I'm the only one that knows what that was. I'm the only one that ever saw that cool mansion opening sequence. Just like I'm the only one that apparently knows anything about Evil Dead sometimes. God damn.
It's hard being you.
Yes, it is. Very
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. Tell me more about how that makes you feel.
Angry, bitter. I'm gonna
Say
go
more about
harass. What's his name now on his Twitter? Where is my? I'm gonna go harass Brendan Fraser on his Twitter. Just take it out on him. I need alcohol and harassment of Brendan Fraser.
In what order?
That's what I.
Don't answer that.
That's what I need. To just go harass more. Because I'm angry now.
Is that your official? Is that your official advice to the dear audience member? When you're down, you could go on Twitter and harass Brendan Fraser.
When you're down, go on Twitter, and not only should you harass Brendan Fraser, you should go and harass dead celebrities' Twitters by saying that their work was no good.
Oh my goodness. All right,
Then-
before we dive down that well of madness, let's just appreciate the fact that H Sinner have seen a few episodes of Warrior Princess Xena.
Of course, because she's not a robot and a fucking fish. That's why.
Wow.
I said it again.
Speciesmus coming from the what? A pumpkin?
Damn straight.
That's rich. That is rich.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I am a
Hey, look,
pumpkin.
at least I have a central nervous system.
You know what? You can take that central nervous system and shove it up. Wait, you're a fish. You don't have an ass. I just remembered.
I
You
have a
can't even say
cloaca.
that.
Thank you.
Ah!
I have a cloaca. Thank you very much.
And you can take that nervous system and stick it up the cloaca. Want me to
I never.
say?
Hear me clutch my pearls.
You do
How
realize
can
you're
you
offending
clutch your
pescatarians.
pearls? You don't have hands, fish.
Oh my goodness.
You got
That's like
fins, no
that.
fingers.
Well, I never.
Is that the 2024 version of pissing on someone's grave? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty much the same, yeah. It's kind of cool when there was someone that was alive and was handling the Twitter at the time, because then it allows you to be just as bitter, and then you see people kind of get really offended for someone that's not around anymore. Like, there's a couple of Twitters that I can't wait for the people to pass away and then just go screw around on it. Jim Cornette, I'm looking at you.
Oh, Mike.
Because you're so courageous.
Well, it's not courageous. It is like the equivalent of pissing on someone's grave, but it's just kind of funny to just piss on the people that still love them and worship them. You know? Like, there are people that still worship people that are long dead. It's pretty funny. We should get the Necronomicon and call some of them back, see what happens. That would be a good Evil Dead movie.
Jada
right
Pickett, I'm looking at you.
Who?
That's Jada Pickett as a notable example.
Oh, yeah, no, like, it's going to be great. Trust me, when we're old and some of these people that are really popular right now kick the bucket, you just go under their Twitters and shit on them. It'll be great. Can't wait for that. I mean, it's really expensive.
Will Smith is still around, though.
Oh, he's going to definitely be around. That fucking guy is going to be the iRobot in real life. I can guarantee you.
He will slap you from the grave.
No, you know what's going to be funny? I have a feeling that when that happens, right, if he does, by some weird, odd eventful time, he passes away, probably while filming Bad Boys 10, he's probably going to have the technology that if you do badmouth his Twitter, some kind of electric force field will come out of your phone and smack you. You know, like, I feel like he's the one guy that can afford to have that feature. Or if anything,
I would hope.
Or his thing will automatically, like, register who you are and respond to tweet of a gif of you in the slap and him slapping you back. It's not like, I feel like his Twitter won't go down that easy. Or, you know, his washed up son will probably knock on the door and be like, Are you Carl? Yeah. Pow! Right, down you go. You fucking thief. You got nothing else to do with his time and money. But yes, how does this all relate to Evil Dead? Because Jada Pinkett is a Deadite. That's right. She looks a lot like the thing that comes out of the cellar. What do you guys think of the effect on Henrietta, by the way?
Oh, that was a sight to see. I'll say that much.
Someone's in my fruit cellar. Someone with a fresh soul.
Hush, little baby, don't say a word.
You know, I'm really upset.
It was an appropriately grotesque fat suit that they used, and you don't get that until she finally comes out of the cellar.
No,
the effect of just her face and her hands, I mean, that's pretty good by itself. But once you see her and entire body, it's like this. it's like this artistically nasty fat suit.
Yeah,
lots of volumes, lots of like veins, and like the color is this sort of like like gross grayish thing. Yeah.
The eyes too are really like pop out at you when she's in there. Something interesting. That's Sam Raimi's brother in the fat suit.
Really?
Oh,
yep.
Nice. That's
his brother. He's in Ted Raimi. He's in a bunch of other stuff. My brother absolutely hates Ted Raimi. Like, he hates him. He hates his face. He's like,
what beef does your brother have with Ted Raimi?
His face.
His face.
I'm dead serious. It's just his face.
I feel like this is hereditary.
It's like if that movie Step Brothers, like if my brother were to if we ever become big and get invited to something, and Ted Raimi happens to be there, and my brother's like my plus one, he will walk up to Ted Raimi and be like, "God damn it, change your face." I don't know what it's about your face, but I just change it before I change it for you. I just want to deliver one of these right to your suck hole. He hates Ted Raimi's face. He cheers anytime he gets killed in a horror movie. Like, you know, he was in Candyman, right? He was one of the first dudes Candyman kills in that movie.
That's unfortunate.
Yep. But anyways, back to it.
Maybe that's why he does so many horror movies. It's just directors love to kill his face.
They do, but they also love to cast him making silly faces at the camera. It's a love-hate relationship with Ted Raimi.
It's the precursor to Sean Bean.
You have to show the face doing its thing before you kill it. Otherwise, there's no satisfaction in the act of killing it.
Yes, and before you get to Sean Bean dying in everything he's ever been in, The one major horror movie Sean Bean was in, he didn't die in it.
Yeah, but we don't talk about that.
Do you know what film it is? We do talk about that.
What are you talking about?
Silent Hill.
Ah, okay.
Wait, I actually see Silent Hill, and hold on, it's been years.
Silent Hill 06.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that one because I can't remember if I saw that
know
one or
what?
the sequel.
One day we can redo that one on the show because we live 40 minutes away from the real Silent Hill.
Oh my goodness.
We do. We live 40 minutes away from the real one.
Don't remind me.
But back to Evil Dead. Another game which had another movie which had a game also a lot like Silent Hill. One thing I actually wanted to ask you guys: what do you guys think about Annie?
Annie?
Annie, the professor's daughter.
Oh, right. I suppose she did have a name. That girl.
Wow! Wow! Red.
See, I'm not the
after
only jackass
class.
around here. See?
TV after class. What was that?
No, I just didn't catch her name. Like I remember the
Hey,
character.
I'll be serious. I'll be honest with you. I've been calling the guy in the overalls the redneck for like the past 20 years since I've seen
But
this
that's
movie.
not as bad as what Red did.
Well, he didn't remember her fucking name. I don't blame him. I call her Annie because I know a bunch of the lore of this movie.
Oh my
If I didn't know the lore, I'd be calling her, oh yeah, the lady with the yellow
goodness.
cardigan.
Still not as
The
bad.
archaeologist lady.
Yeah, the
Like, you could have at least said that, Red. Come on. Like, I guess she had a name. Oh my.
Well, I guess she did have a name, and it was that.
I want to put that on a t-shirt now.
That's, you know what? That would be a good shirt. We just put it up, picture of her. And put, I guess she did have a name after all.
Anywho.
Anyway, so what did I think of her? Well,
Not much,
I
clearly.
liked that there was a new character. I liked that now I appreciate very much that she has a name. That is definitely one of my favorite aspects of her now.
You're... Come on.
No, but I thought I thought that she had a nice heroic story where the last in her last breath of life she is able to complete the incantation to get the rift up and working and to get all the bad things out of our universe. Nice heroic story.
Including Ash himself.
Including Ash himself, which was that was unintentional, but perhaps necessary.
Yeah, because he's clearly the ultimate culmination of evil. That's why he had to go and rip it for the close. It couldn't close prematurely and, save him trauma and years of mental anguish.
If it weren't for that
I mean-
dick face throwing the pages in with the monster, then yeah, that could have been avoided. Unfortunately, he screwed everybody by doing that.
Yeah, there's always at least one episode of an idiot doing something that is clearly avoidable. But you know what? We need to stretch this out. People need to have jobs and be fed.
All right, I
Let's
actually
see.
have a question. What do you guys think of the redneck?
It's a redneck. Like I'm rarely surprised when people act beyond their popular stereotypes.
That dude, to me, was a very funny character. For one reason and one reason alone. He was an idiot who somehow managed to have himself a very, very, very hot girlfriend with 2 male first names.
That's true. Bobby and Joe. And if you look at the way it's spelled, Bobby and Joe are both spelled in the male fashion.
Now, I'm also going to point out
B-O-B-B-Y?
something. I'm going to point out something here, though.
Yes.
It
With
was
a,
worthy to
Y
remember
on
Bobby
Bobby.
Joe's name because she was hot and Annie wasn't.
Oh my goodness.
Well, hold on.
Here we go.
Annie's
Let-
pretty. I thought Annie was pretty. I
You
didn't
said hot, not pretty.
I didn't pay attention to her name, but I thought she was.
Clearly, you didn't pay
The,
attention.
the clear.
I'm just digging myself deeper.
Bolt called it right. I said hot, not pretty.
Well, okay. I didn't remember her name, but I did use the more respectful term.
Yeah, you remembered her name.
Have that shovel, buddy.
You didn't remember the
you
other
dig yourself
one.
deeper. You can give me the shovel.
You didn't remember the other one's name, now did you?
Well, okay, so
the
other one's name- The other one's name was more memorable because the hillbilly guy, who also has a name, by the way, his name is Jake.
They all have
Excuse
names.
me.
They
Oh,
all
I'm
have
sorry.
there's
He
the
has
scene
such a
where he's
generic
yelling
name.
There's the scene where he's yelling into the woods, Bobby Joe, Bobby Joe. It's like for 3 whole minutes, just Bobby Joe, Bobby Joe, Bobby Joe. Of course, I'm gonna remember her name.
All right, fine.
No, not
You
fine.
still remember the
Like
other
that-
one because she's hotter. Let me go back.
That hole is massive. That thing is a crater at this point.
And when you go look it up on the Evil Dead wiki, they're both just called hillbillies.
Well, just as a viewer said, the name was not plot relevant.
Clearly, it was not plot relevant. So, in the event, actually, you know what? Who's someone that I hate that died recently? Yeah, no, that's fine.
Bob Newhart just died.
I don't know who Bob Newhart was that much to hate on Bob Newhart.
Right.
Yet.
Okay.
Give it five
You don't
minutes.
strike me as someone that needs to know a whole lot about someone to hate them.
Because he doesn't.
No, they just need to do something that
much.
inconveniences me slightly, and I will hate them for life.
Okay.
Make
yeah.
a terrible movie, I'll hate you for life.
Mhm.
So, you know what's another actor that has a really, really unfortunate campy affair under Sam Raimi?
Well, who is that?
Liam Neeson.
Oh. Okay.
He just wanted the purple elephant. That's all he wanted. He kept telling the guy to give him the pink elephant, and he wouldn't give it to him.
The
And
pink
then-
elephant.
Yep,
Where was
that's some movie called Dark Man.
Okay.
Don't go watch it. You can avoid watching that one.
When is that from?
1995, 96?
Okay.
Like right before Liam Neeson, 3 years before Liam Neeson would score the contract for, damn it, Star Wars Episode 1.
Oh yes.
And
Yeah.
then he would become like America's daddy. Like everybody wanted him because he was like daddy at that point after that movie. So then then he would go.
Everyone's everyone's famous. Everyone's favorite Irish daddy.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then after that, he's like off to the races. He does The Haunting, which is a good film we can actually watch, believe it or not.
Okay.
I don't mind staring at Catherine Zeta-Jones for a couple hours. Like that's 90s Catherine Zeta-Jones especially.
She's like the Bruce Campbell of women.
Damn straight she is, man.
Goodness.
Damn, goddamn straight she is. You ever seen those Zorro movies? I Will Die on a Hill. 90s Catherine Zeta-Jones was the best, most attractive woman on cinema at the time, and then she screwed it all up by marrying Michael Old Man Blue Pill Douglas. Goddamn Michael.
You know, for like an anniversary special, we need to go through like your top 100 people hate. Just this
Right.
shit.
Yes. We need to review the list of enemies.
Well,
Maybe make some
apparently-
edits. Make some additions.
Red has a list of the people that I obviously dislike somewhere. He has
No,
the-
no,
So the list
Let's talk
is a
about this
group of
way.
the list is a group of people and entities that either Jack has revealed that he hates or that we have thrown shade at on the podcast, making enemies in real time.
pretty much.
Yes, that's what the list contains.
And it's actually a real list, unlike the one over that those people keep saying is on Epstein's Island. It's there. Someone documented it. It's a thing. All right, now I'm changing the screen to what it's going to look like when I go away. When I hit the netherworld, there's going to be a lot of dead people looking at me just like that image right now on the YouTube. Ash Williams' demon pointing at me. You are the one with all the hate. That's what's gonna happen. Just like that. Because I hate a lot of things.
Do you love as many things as you hate?
Yes,
Okay, that's
I
good.
don't believe you.
That's
I like horror movies. I
That
tell
doesn't-
people all the
Yeah.
time I like horror movies. I don't know why anybody hasn't. But I'm here talking to you guys. How many good things have I said about Evil Dead this whole time? How many good
That's
things did I say
a-
about
that's
Bruce
A
Campbell?
movie. That's a movie and a man.
I've said good things about all the Evil Dead stuff. I've played the video games. I still own physical copies of the video games. I've actually read some of their comics. I was aware that there was supposed to be, and I was really pissed when they didn't make it, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. And it
Why
didn't
a
happen.
three-way? Why a three-way?
Well, that was the only thing they could think of. They had a two-way, and then when you do a porn, you go and you get the third person in there and make it a
Alright.
kissing dance.
Okay.
That's how it goes. All right, you're the one who asked. You made
Yeah,
it.
that
as-
wasn't a real question.
You said,
Closing
"Why would it be a
statement.
three-way?" I'm answering your question. There you go.
That wasn't a real question. Closing
It would have been a
statements.
three-way dance between Robert Englund, who was supposed to be Luke Skywalker, Bruce Campbell, and some dude that nobody liked as Jason Voorhees. There we go. That's who it was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. But everybody says, no, that wasn't, I don't know. No, there you go. There's your answer.
Indeed.
All
But
right.
I hate everything. Yeah. Yeah.
And there it is. Okay.
So,
All right.
as we get close to closing time here, I'm just going to ask both of you, what were your ultimate thoughts on this whole film as a whole? Just give me, like, general opinions.
Great horror comedy. It feels, I mean, it really does feel, it almost feels like they were doing a horror movie, but as a comedy. Because like in a real sort of like pure comedy, you have a laugh a minute. And in this one, you have a scare a minute because it's right from the beginning. There's really no setup. It's not like, you know, one of the Conjuring movies where it's pretty much kind of like a family drama for the first 20 minutes and then things start to happen. No, it's like right out the door. Scare, scare, scare. So, yeah, I mean, I like the slapstickiness, like the special effects are really good to look at. It's one of those movies where it's not really much about the story. It's more just like, you know, witnessing the performances and the special effects. Yeah, so I like it. Good stuff.
And now we get the robot's critique. Grab your knife and go for it, Bolt.
It's let's keep it short and pleasant. If I want to ease people into horror, I would pick this series as of right now. If I know they have like if I know if their weakness to horror is specifically like the scare factor and the gruesomeness of it all, I would introduce them to this series first in order for them to kind of like warm up to horror. As this just feels more palatable, but also providing unexpected humor and some sick one-liners, which I didn't know that came from this movie.
Hey, she bitch. Let's go.
She bitch.
How many times have I yelled that at people over the years? Yo, she bitch. You can't say that anymore in 2024.
Well, you can't. Women can, but you can't.
Unfortunately. Although I grew up saying that quite often when I was a kid. That
Yeah,
one.
yeah, it depends on the context.
And then in the third movie, he drops another pretty epic one-liner at the end. Hail to the king, baby.
That I'm just like, okay. When I saw the contest for that one, I'm just like, that lands hard. Like that lands hard.
And another
I
one that was
appreciate that one.
pretty funny that I also like to say on occasion is who's laughing now? That's right. Who's laughing now?
My personal favorite is the boomstick one.
You know what sucks? When I was a kid, I really wanted a toy chainsaw to play Evil Dead with, and they never sold any.
Isn't that sweet?
Until I finally got older. Now my nephew has a toy chainsaw, and I have to fight the urge to grab it from him. And when I have a long sleeve shirt on and mess around with it, because it's his toy, and I can't take his toy away and be like, "Go away! I'm playing with my toys now." Can't do any of that.
I mean, you can. You just be looked at as that weirdo.
You can't mess with the kids' toys. There is a level to depravity, and taking a child's toy away is where I draw the line, unlike you hateful android robot.
Wow, why would you just assume that me as an android would just go ahead and do that?
Because you're a robot. You don't have feelings, commie.
Yeah. I have sense of decency and parameters of giving a crap about children, and that does not even remotely come close to my what do you people call it?
So you can't even fathom what that is as an emotion, robot.
Yeah, no, giving a crap and bullying children, yeah, that's not an emotion that I would try to compute and would do, so I wouldn't do it. Yeah, so suck it.
Yeah, suck what, robot? The microphone?
Pumpkin seeds.
I mean, Data was fully functional.
Look, man, we don't talk about Data after that illogical ass sacrifice he made in the last Star Trek movie he was in. Alright? And everybody was pissed about it, including Brent Spiner. And that's why he went back to doing those terrible Independence Day sequels. Yes, there was a sequel to that film, and it sucked.
Wait, doesn't he die in the first one?
And then he comes back miraculously somehow in the second one through the power of sequel bait. It wasn't that bad. That's all it was. Even though he had like that thing in his brain that was controlling him to talk, but it just wasn't that bad though. It wasn't bad at all. It was easy. That's all. Goddamn sequel bait.
Alright, I'm getting another ship, so I have to escape.
Alright, so I will give my closing thoughts on this one. This was the first franchise that I genuinely enjoyed growing up. So when I saw this movie for the first time, I too was surprised by how comical it got. But it wasn't awful. It wasn't in your face comical. It was still kind of like a nice mix. So to take what Bolt mentioned about easing someone into horror, this one is actually a good one to start someone off into horror with. I would say pick this one. A lot of movies that came after borrow heavily from it. If we ever talk about The Mummy or we ever get to any of these other films, I'm actually going to now just make a point to point out to everybody the nods that this movie gave, because they're out there. Even in The Mummy, there's a lot more subtle jabs in the sequel, believe it or not. A lot of people don't know. But when we get there, we'll get there, because now we've covered what is essentially my Necronomicon of horror, which was Evil Dead. So, this was The Ghastly Hallows.
I'm not laughing.
And accompanied me today was...
Is Red.
And Bolt.
The Judgmental Robot. And I'm Pumpkin Jack, and hopefully I'll see you all again next week. Close you out.
See you, everybody.